Hey everyone. Whoa. That is a really big face. Okay, that's a little better. Hey everyone. Eric Kizwa here, and in today's episode, we're going to be looking at creating a to-do list with C++. That's right. Right on, to-do list. Okay, so first, I'm opening up Visual Studio 2022, as you can see on my desktop. Let's make that a little bit bigger. Okay, that looks a little nicer. And let's go ahead and create a new project. Yoink. Okay, a list will show up, and let's go with just a console app. And hit next, and let's call this CPP to-do list. Let's go ahead and create it. Okay, so Visual Studio 2022, if you haven't come across it yet, it's free for non-commercial use. So it's perfect for students, perfect for just fooling around, hobbyists. And oh my goodness, let's make this a little bit bigger so y'all can see it. Okay, that is really huge. It takes up the entire screen. Okay, 200. All right. So we can leave that there for now, and we can see by our basic statement here, our standard cout, hello world. So let's go ahead and run this and just take a look at what it looks like. Okay, build and run. And we get a, of course this isn't blown up, but we get a hello world. Oh, can't zoom in on that either. I'll figure it out. Okay, close that up. All right, so let's, first of all, let's print do list maker. And let's display a version. And our end of line, let's give ourselves a, let's say 0.2.0. Okay. Let's include string. Let's include, let's leave it for that for now. Okay, so we display a version number, always important. I don't know why I do that all the time, but it just helps to make sure that you're communicating what version you're working with and showing people. Okay, anyway, let's build a class, new class for our to-do item. Let's call it to-do item. And let's make some private member variables. We'll give each to-do item an ID. That way we can quickly identify it. I'll show you what I mean later on. We'll give each one a string description and a bool to track if it's completed or not. Okay, then we'll have a basic constructor. Let's give it an starting off ID, always initialize it to 0. We'll initialize description, empty string, and let's initialize completed always to false. Just give us an empty to-do item body. Okay, and then a destructor. Just use a default. Okay, so now we've got a neat little to-do class going, and let's now create a list, which will oops. Sometimes that stuff fills it in for you automatically and you don't mean to do it. Okay, let's create a to-do item and let's just call it to-do items. And it's complaining about not having a list, so let's include our standard template library list. And hooray! And so let's initialize our list, or let's clear it at any rate. Make sure we're starting with a fresh cleared list. Okay. Now what we want to do is we're also going to need a, okay, let's think about this. So first, what I want to try and do is I want to create a way to display our list of to-do items that we have so far captured. I want to be able to add a to-do item. I want to be able to mark one as completed, and I want to be able to quit the program. Because what I'm envisioning is that we have what we call a infinite loop, which will continuously display the list of to-do items to the screen, display a list of options that the user can do with them, and then just keep going. So as the user adds a new one, it'll just add it to the existing list of to-do items, and then re-loop, go back to the beginning of the loop, print everything out again, and let us go from there. Okay. You'll see what I mean as soon as I do this. So what we're going to need is a while one. Always a fun way to create an infinite loop. And let's move our title over here, and let's make use of a system call, which system CLS, all that does is it just, in between each loop, it'll clear the screen. So that way we've got a fresh view of our to-do list items. Okay, so we've got our to-do list maker title along with our version, and then let's print out a few empty lines. Whoops. Okay, and then let's... Oh, what's wrong with that one now? Oh, of course. I'm not piping them out to see out. Okay. Careless mistake. Alright. So now let's go through. What I want to do is loop through the existing items in our to-do item list right here, and then display them here. So we're going to need something called a iterator. And the standard template list, this list object that we're using, it also has a iterator, a way that we can create an iterator. So we declare this the same way. We begin this list declaration the same way, and then we append an iterator, and let's just call it IT, just because. So let's do a for loop here. So for IT equals our list begin. So this will point our iterator to the first item in our list, and then we keep going as long as IT does not equal to to-do items end, and then we just iterate. So IT++. Okay, that's pretty cool. So now what we want to do is let's just print out each to-do item. So standard std : cout, and then we want to do the IT, which is now the enumerator. The iterator is now pointing to our current to-do item in the list. So we want to get the ID, and then let's create like a vertical bar there to separate that. Let's get our description, and let's create another bar, and then let's display. Oh, I wonder if I can just do this. Okay. IT is completed. And an end of line. Okay, so notice all these friendly red underscores. Basically, we haven't created these methods yet. So let's go ahead and create them now. So we need a get ID. So int get ID, and let's return the ID. And let's add a getter for the description. Get description. Return description. Okay, and then let's get is completed. So bool is completed. Return completed. Okay, so far so good. So everything shows up there. So just to test this out, let's add a new to-do item. Oh, and we're going to need a way to add a new to-do item. So let's create a create member function, which will take in a new description. Okay, so we get Okay, so we need some kind of way to create a unique identifier for this to-do item. We'll come back to that. But for right now, let's take the description and use the new description. And we'll return true. Okay, so what I want to do is, it's not totally fail-safe. Let's create a random integer between 1 and 100. Sounds fun. Okay, so let's use the rand function. And we mod it with 100 and add 1. And basically this generates a random integer between 1 and 100. So if we wanted to do between 0 and 100, then we would leave off this +1. But let's make it a little bit user-friendly, as you'll see what I mean. And let's do it between 1 and 100. Now we might need to include see time maybe. Okay, it's not complaining about it. Okay, and we might need to create a default seed. Basically, that way each time we launch our program, we're creating a brand new seed for our random number generator that gets used for making this call here when we create a random integer between 1 and 100. Okay, so we've got a create method that inputs a new description. We generate a random ID for it. We assign the description of this instance of a to-do item to the new description that we're passing in, and then we just return true. There's pretty much almost no way we cannot create a new item given a description, so you can either return a boolean or just return nothing, just a void function. But let's keep it at create for now, and let's generate a sample to-do item right here. Test. So let's see, test, create, and this is a test. And then we want to do items, push back, test. So we're creating a testing to-do item variable item here, instance of to-do item here, and then we're adding it to our to-do item list. And then in this loop, we should be able to print it out and display it. And we're going to go through this loop once and then break out of it, just so that we get out of this while loop. So let's go ahead and build it. Okay, everything looks all right. Let's start it up. All right, so we get a, I wish there was a way to zoom in. So I've got to-do list maker v0.2.0 as we have in our version number, and then we've got our to-do test item with an ID of 100. This is a test, and the 0 is our boolean value for not completed. So let's make that a little bit more user-friendly. Okay, so let's introduce what we call a ternary operation, which means we're testing something, and then if that conditional test is true, then do one thing, otherwise do another thing. So I'll show you what I mean here. So let's create a new label. Let's just call it completed. Oops. Sometimes I don't like that autocomplete. Okay, so completed equals. And now we're going to test it iterator is completed. So if is completed of our to-do item returns true. So if it returns true, then we need to use the question mark. So if it returns true, then we assign the string std completed to done. Otherwise, that's what we need this double, what do you call it now? Colon. Then we use the colon and then not done. So once again, we're going back here. If we're testing it is completed, which returns a boolean. So if that boolean returns true, then we assign the text done to our completed. Oh yeah, sorry. Duh. That's why it looks weird. Okay, so we assign our string completed to done. Otherwise, if it is not completed, then it becomes not done. And then down here in our printing out of our to-do item, let's just display this completed value. Okay, I'll show you what I mean. And let's run it again. And now we've got, instead of a 0, we've got a more friendlier not done on our to-do list item. Okay. So far, so good. So we're in a while loop, an infinite while loop. We're displaying our items. And we are displaying a bit of a friendlier way if our item is done or not done. Okay, so let's take out this test. And right here, if our to-do items is empty, then just display some text like add your first to-do. Woohoo! Okay, and then give it empty line. All right, now what we want to do is we want to have, usually when you're working with a program like this, you have some kind of menu, which is what I was envisioning when we started this whole thing. So let's add a new to-do, and let's complete a to-do, and let's have a way of quitting this program. Why would you want to quit? This is an amazing software. Quit. Oops. Ugh, can't spell quit. Okay. Quit, end of line. All right. And then let's give out, let's put a user prompt there for the user's choice. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use the cin input stream, what C++ calls the input stream, and we're going to input our option. Okay, so right away the compiler's complaining that we haven't identified what input option is yet. So we want to just capture a single key choice from the user. So A, C, or Q. All right. So input option is going to be a char. Okay. So right away we can, and let's, if input option equals Q, then let's quit. So we break out of the infinite loop. Okay. And let's print out something. Have a great day now. And give us an end of line. Okay. So let's make sure we can quit. Let's run this thing. Okay. So here's our to-do list maker with our fresh, brand new, updated menu text. First we see our add your first to-do. And then we see add a new to-do, complete a new to-do. Okay, you know what? How's that looking, everyone? Oh boy, that's a little more legible. Okay. My apologies. All right, so going back. So we have our to-do list maker with our version number. We've got our add our first to-do because, of course, we don't have a to-do item yet. And we've got our menu choices. Add a new to-do, complete a to-do, or quit. So far we've only programmed the ability to quit. So let's hit Q, hit enter, and you can see, have a great day now, come up. Okay, and let's go back and launch it. Hopefully, yes, okay. Comes up again with the same text size. Okay, so let's try anything else. And we just keep looping back to the beginning of our loop. So it doesn't recognize any other option, any other key that we've put in, just because we haven't programmed it yet to allow it. Oops. Okay, so let's go back to our... Okay, so let's do... we want to complete a to-do, so let's do complete. That's kind of an easier one. So if input option equals C, then what we want to do is enter ID to mark completed. Sounds a little weird. Maybe I'll come up with a better way to phrase that. But what we want to do is we want to prompt the user now to enter an ID of the to-do item that we can now mark completed. Okay, so we want to, again, use the same std::cin, and then we want to capture our input ID. And this time we want it an integer. So we are looking for an integer. And then what we're going to do, now there's various ways of iterating through and finding an item within your standard list with the C++ standard list. Functions, functions available to us. But I think to keep things really simple for this tutorial, I'm just going to redo this for loop here. So we're going to reuse the same iterator of our to-do item list. And so what I want to do is just cut and paste that there. And then so if our input ID equals our actual ID of the to-do item, then just mark it as completed. So IT set completed true, and then break, so that we break from this for loop. So we now see a red underlining from the compiler telling us that set completed doesn't exist yet. So let's create a new set completed, which takes in a boolean, and completed equals val. There. Easy peasy. So we're iterating through our to-do items again. If the ID of the current to-do item matches the ID that we've inputted from the user, then set our completed value, mark that to-do item as completed, and then break from this for loop. And then once that finishes, it will then go back and reloop and display everything from the beginning. So let's go ahead and test that out. Right on. Okay, so add your first to-do. Okay, so completed to-do. So we don't have a to-do yet that we can test out the complete stuff with. So let's quit and go back, and let's add one here. So else if input option equals A, we want to add a new one. Okay. So let's do printing out to standard out. Add a new description. So the idea is that we're just going to take a description and create a new to-do from there. So let's use standard cin, and let's use input description. Okay, and then we're inputting a string. Input description. All right. So we're inputting a string, and then what we're going to do is create a new item. We're going to use our handy dandy create method function and pass in the new input description, and then we're going to add this new to-do item to the list. Okay. New item. Whoops. New item. Okay, everything looks all right. And let's give this a shot. Okay, add your first to-do, so let's add a new to-do. Hit A, add a new description, testing. Oh, how about finish tutorial. What happened there? Notice how we've got two items created, finish and then L. I'm not sure what that's going on there, but we have got an issue here. So one problem with standard input with a string is that we're going through the input buffer and pulling out characters and appending it to this input description variable. So what we should be using instead of cin is first we've got to, when you're working with strings, when you're inputting strings from users, you've got to do a little bit more work with the standard input libraries. So first you have to clear our input stream buffer. Let's try that. Okay, let's start with that. So let's clear our input buffer. So basically what I mean by clearing is that if there's any existing keys that are left over in that input buffer before we get there, those will be assigned into our new variable before the one we want. Hello world. Okay, so now that's a little bit better. We were able to add two, we were able to just add one to-do item instead of two, but notice that it took everything up until the space between hello and world, and then it only used hello. So I'll show you what I mean again. So let's add a new to-do, and let's type in to-do, second to-do item. So here, what's going to happen is instead of creating a to-do item with a description of second to-do item, the program is just going to create a to-do item with a description of second. And here we go. Second. So what's happening? So what we need to do is clear the input, and instead of directing standard input into input description, what we want to make use of is a method called getline. And then that takes our input stream that we're getting our line from and the variable to assign it to, which is input description. Okay, so let's try this again. And let's add A for add a new to-do. And oh, what happened? I couldn't even add anything. Okay, so what's happening is that let's quit. We have to add another thing here, which is ignore. So what we want to do is we want to clear what's in our input buffer, start with a fresh input stream buffer. We want to ignore the first return, and then capture our input into the input description variable, and then we'll be done with it. Show you what I mean here. Okay, so A for adding a new to-do. Okay, so add a new description. This is a new to-do item. Now, hopefully, our entire string here gets assigned to the description of the new to-do item. Yes! Number 72. Or ID 72. Okay, so now we can test our completed, not completed menu function. So and hit C, enter ID to mark completed, and let's do 72. And notice how 72 is now changed from not done to done. Okay, let's quit and let's go back. I don't want to go to a new line there. I want to stay in the same line. Okay, but that's just cosmetic. And okay, so now we've got an ability to create, add a new description. We've got an ability to mark one completed. And let's maybe add a few blank lines between our list and our menu options. So we can do that with our handy dandy. Okay, so let's run this again. To-do list maker, add your first to-do. Okay, let's add one. Add a new description. Pick up kid from school. Okay, pick up kid from school, not done. And let's add a new one. How about, let's enter some test garbage. See what gets captured. Okay, all of that works. And let's complete a to-do. And let's enter the ID 46. which now changes 46 to not done, or from not done to done. Okay, I think that's about it. That was a very quick run through of creating your very own to-do list with C++. I hope y'all enjoyed what we did today. Thanks everyone for watching today. I hope you learned something new. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will be back in some future, at some future time. I don't know yet. When I can come up with more programming related tutorials. Anyways, have a good day everyone. Peace out.